Welcome back to another edition of your favorite YouTube show, Bet with the Pros. I'm your host, Ronnie P, and joining alongside me is the founder of Line Sniper, the man that won $100K on a future bet with Tampa Bay, Mr. Danny Chiang. Danny, how you doing, man?
How's it going, Ronnie? Happy to be back.
Listen, it's going great because I was on In the Crosshairs yesterday, went 2-1. If you're not watching the Crosshairs, I don't know what you're doing. But that's besides the point. Danny, it's March Madness time. You know what that means.
I love it. It's time to get in some plays for the conference championships and the championships, right?
Yeah, and you're the man. I mean, you won 100K off of the Buccaneers, so I need to win 100K too. I need that. Our fans need that. Our viewers need this.
The crazy story is last year going into March Madness, we had $250,000 in bets, like risking bets to go into March Madness. And then right before March Madness hit, COVID hit as well. And all of our bets were canceled. It took us like 3 or 4 to file this portfolio of futures bets, and COVID ruined us all. So we're back here this year with a vengeance. So I'm going to give you some juicy ones today to start building up that portfolio.
So before we go there, I'm just curious, how does that feel that you have all this money on these games? I would have a heart attack, man. My biggest bet I ever placed probably was $5,000. And I swear, every single play, every possession, I'm like, how do you do that? How do you do that?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that, actually when I was first started betting, more anxious about bets, then after a while you become desensitized to it a little bit, to the standpoint of as long as you're getting the best of the number.
That's true.
And know you're putting in plus EV bets, you feel very confident going into the bets almost. So the heart palpitations and the anxiety definitely lessens. But when there's more than a few 100,000 on the line, you still get a bit nervous for sure. So.
Oh my God, of course, man, of course. But you're right. If you're making the right bet, if you did the right tapping, you should be fine with it. So I get you, man. I get you on that. Okay.
Exactly. So you're looking forward to Madness this year, Ronnie? We're hopefully having it again this year.
I hope we have it this year, and we got a future on Tennessee, so I'm hoping that Tennessee goes all the way, man, all right? I want a trip to, where'd Ali go? Jamaica or Aruba or something? I want a trip to Aruba, too, so I got to get Tennessee to win this, man.
Perfect. So we'll put in some other good ones today, so hopefully we round out that portfolio and make sure that we got some juicy ones coming online.
Okay. So what do you think's really good to do? To win the championship, that's a crapshoot, man. But to make Final Four, I think you got a better chance of winning that one. Am I right or am I crazy for thinking that?
Yes. This year to win the championship specifically, there's 2 really good teams in college basketball this year, which is Gonzaga and Baylor, if you look at it. Yep. And they're pretty heavily chalked, which means they're pretty big favorites versus the rest of the field. If you look, they're plus 250, plus 275 here, and then everything else is, Michigan plus 450, and then everything plus 1,000 plus. So typically, it's tough to bet on teams that are heavily chalked like that because they're, such big favorites in a tournament like the NCAA, which is one and done. A lot can go on, and one of their key players gets injured. Suddenly their team gets hit by COVID. It's just you're taking a lot of risk betting on big favorites like that, especially in a sport like NCAA basketball. So that's why I'll definitely bet some long shots to win the championship, but specifically for this year as well, I think there's some really good value into to make Final Four market, and to the championship market. We'll show you a little bit why that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, you're one bad game from getting bounced in March Madness. So at plus 250, to me, that's not worth it. Not at all. Not at all.
Totally agree with you.
So to make Final Four, as you see here, the prices are pretty nice, man. I mean, yeah, these are some really, really good prices. And let's be honest, the best team rarely wins March Madness. It's always a long shot that gets in there, especially this year, I'm thinking. So I know you were talking about Wisconsin earlier.
We were chatting about Wisconsin before. I think for the viewers, I think this is a great example of being a handicapper versus being a good bettor. We're pretty transparent in the fact that I think, we're much more knowledgeable about the major sports than we are about college basketball.
Absolutely.
In terms of principle. If you asked me to name the 6th man on the Wisconsin basketball team, I think I'd have a difficult time naming, 2 of the starters on that team, let alone the 6th man. But I think, this is a good illustration of how, there's a difference between handicapping, which is, knowing every player of every team and every stat, versus just being a good bettor and making sure you're betting good lines and betting lines where there's value. So two things that I'll point out to people who want to bet college basketball. A is, at Line Sniper, we have an internal ranking system of this team where we build power rankings and we're analyzing all the stats for each team. But for the people in general who don't have access to that or are just looking to find a quick way to figure out, what's the team's general strengths, without looking at whatever ESPN or the college basketball system's rating of top 25 is, there's two really good sources that are pretty well known within the handicapping community. The first is Sagarin, if you could pull it up, Ronnie.
Sure.
We'll just look it up, just Sagarin college basketball.
How do you spell that, Danny?
Sagarin.
There we go. Yeah, we did this
you'll
last
see
time.
right there.
All right. College basketball.
This is typically a system for college basketball. If you just click on college basketball there.
Okay.
And, this will rank for people who don't know, the top, X amount of teams in the college basketball. And then they'll also give you a general strength indicator of how good those teams are. Another rating system very similar to Sagarin is KenPom. We don't have to pull it up today, but effectively it's very similar. It'll give you the kind of how strong they think the teams are, etc. So if you look at the team that we're going to bet on, which is Wisconsin, you can see, according to Sagarin, they're about the 12th best team in the nation right now. They have a rating of 88, very similar to Creighton, very similar to Alabama, very similar to West Virginia type teams. So those teams are kind of in the same ballpark, approximately. So if we go back to DraftKings and we just look at Wisconsin as a team, there's two things that showed up to me, obviously, that make it such that, it's pretty obvious that Wisconsin is a decent bet here. First off, we point out that they're a very similar strength team to Creighton and West Virginia. If we look at, the Creighton and West Virginia prices, you're seeing plus 475 and plus 550 versus Wisconsin being plus 900. So if they're the same team, there's clearly a discrepancy. Why is Wisconsin such higher price than, West Virginia and Creighton? Is kind of the most obvious question we have to ask. So that leads me to think maybe there's something there. The next thing I typically do to figure out if it's a good price or not is I just take a look at what the championship winner prices are. And if we look at the price for Wisconsin to win the championship, you'll see they're under San Diego State there. They're about 40 to 1. And the reason why that 40 to 1 is interesting is they're 9 to 1 to make the Final Four, which is 2 stages beyond winning the championship. So if you multiply 9 to 1 by 2 times effectively, or by 4, you get 36 to 1, which is slightly worse than, the championship winner number. But if Wisconsin makes the Final Four, they're likely to be, small to medium-sized underdogs in each of those games. For example, if they play Baylor or they play Gonzaga, they're going to be an underdog to both those teams. If they play, Houston, they're going to be an underdog. So let's say they're, 1.5 to 1 underdogs in both those games. The price for the championship should really be close to 70 or 80 to 1. So you're getting value on the 9 to 1 to win the conference. So that's just, high level. Without knowing anything about the players on Wisconsin's team, I can tell pretty quickly that, it's the 9 to 1 is probably a pretty good price to play on Wisconsin. And, they're a fairly good team. They have a lot of benefits to them. And especially to win the Final Four, you want to take slightly longer shots than betting the Baylor or Gonzaga to make the Final Four minus 350.
You are good, my friend. You are good, man. Wow.
So, and then one other way you can look at it, if you go to make Final Four, let's just show the 9 to 1 again.
Sure.
Let's go to like another sports book just to compare it for other people, like FanDuel.
Sure.
And we're doing this all live for the viewers, so it's not like we have any pre-knowledge of what these numbers are going to be. But if we go to, the sports book.
Sportsbook. Okay. Here we go.
You don't even, perfect. Just log in.
Yeah, we're good.
And we go to NCAA basketball.
Okay.
We
NCAA
can
basketball.
just exit this.
College basketball. Futures.
Exactly. Futures. And then we go to Final Four, the bottom.
At the very bottom. Oh, here we go. Final Four. You're right. Okay.
And then we just take a look at what they're pricing Wisconsin at,
Plus 450.
which is 4.5 to 1, which is, half the price of what we're getting it at DraftKings. So these are all, these small indicators that you can look at without knowing anything about the team to understand that Wisconsin is probably a decent bet at 9 to 1.
Damn.
Without knowing, who the top players are. So that's the difference between betting and handicapping. Kind of extraneous factors and figuring out what's a good or bad bet. Handicapping is more digging into the weeds and figuring out, who's the players on the team, what are the team stats, etc.
I like this. I like how you broke that down, man. I mean, that's wow. Okay. All right. So now
let's go back to DraftKings and hit that 9 to 1 then.
All right. So what are we putting on it, man? We got $1,000.
We should put on half of it onto Wisconsin. I think
half
500.
on Wisconsin. All right. Let's see. So
it's always a struggle to see if they're gonna accept it though.
But I think for
this type of bet, I think they should.
All right.
I'm putting my money on yes.
Your money's on yes? Know. All right. I don't know. We'll see. 3, 2, 1. Oh, they accepted it. See, wow.
We're good to go.
We are good to go on that. That's a nice payday if we get that, man. That's not bad.
Perfect.
Not bad. Okay. So, and if it doesn't hit, it still was a good bet. It still was. So you really can't get mad or upset, right?
Exactly. As long as you know you're getting the best of the number, all you want to make sure you're doing is when you do win, you're winning more than when you do lose. And the important part is if you're getting good prices, when you do win, it's going to be a big payday, as you can see by some of the long shot prices that we do. But when you lose, you're losing small, which is ultimately kind of what the math you want it to work out to be.
So I guess you don't take big money lines like minus 500. You don't do that, huh?
Sometimes I do. It really depends on the price, If the price should be minus 2,000 and it's minus 500, take the minus 500.
It's just all about getting the right price.
It's all about getting the right price relative to what the truth of the bet should be.
No, I love it.
And, very, very close to this, let's say Wisconsin is in the final, Elite 8 or something, or Sweet 16.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we get back on this show and, they're playing, who knows, Tennessee or something, let's say, for example. And for some reason, we really like Tennessee in that game. We can always hedge them out then at that point, and decrease the risk if we think, the other side's a really good bet. So there's always chances in the future, especially on futures bets, to decrease risk and take money off the table. But if you're getting the best of the number, it's going to be much cheaper for you to take money off the table in the future.
Now, I'm glad you said that. You mentioned hedging. Do you do that a lot, or do you advise people to do that? Or see, I'm all in, man. I'm like, let's go. But then again, I lose a lot. So maybe that's
I tend to
why.
have a similar personality to you in terms of I tend to be a little more aggressive. There's a few reasons to hedge typically. The first reason has nothing to do with betting, but tends to have to do with your overall lifestyle type question is if you're on some huge long shot type bet, right? Let's say you're 100 to 1 on some crazy team and they're one game away, and that bet is going to make a real significant change to your life, in terms of your lifestyle and bankroll.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then I would say it's a good situation where you probably should take some money off the table. Versus if you're betting $100 and you're going to make, $1,000 and it's not going to make a significant change to your life, then I would say be a little more aggressive.
Okay.
The second point I make is the point at which you want to hedge is if for some reason you've bet one team for a long shot future and you really like, or you're finding really good prices on the other side of that bet for whatever reason. So for example, the Rams Patriots game many years ago, we had a Patriots futures bet, which was actually the winning side of that bet.
Yes, it was.
So we thought the Rams at plus 3.5 were the correct side of that singular bet for the Super Bowl. At that point, you can take the Rams plus 3.5, and you still have that futures bet on the Patriots, and you're taking money off the table if you really like the other side of your bet.
Okay.
Because typically when you're hedging, what you don't want to do is if it's not going to make a big change to your lifestyle, you don't want to hedge for the sake of hedging because you're typically going to be giving away a little bit of vig or price to do that because you're going to be paying the minus 110 or you're going to be paying the vig on the futures bet that you're placing to take it. So hedge when it's going to make a big difference to your lifestyle or you really love the other side of the bet. Don't just hedge because you're worried you're getting down to the wire type thing.
No, that's great advice. I mean, I hear people hedging all the time, and I'm like, wait, why are you hedging? But no, that's great advice. You explained that great for the audience and to me, so thank you. I appreciate that. All right, so
But for the purposes of this show, Ronnie, 90% of the time, I think we're going all in on these babies. I think unless there's a very specific reason why we think the other team is good, it's definitely going to be an all or nothing type shot for us, I think.
Dude, that's what I want to hear, man. I'm all in, baby. Let's go. Let's do it.
Perfect. So the other team we're going to look at that we chatted about before the show is Purdue. If we can find it, I think it should be down there under Northwestern.
Right. Ooh, plus 2,500. Wow, 25-1 odds.
So if we take another look at Purdue, let's just pull up Sagarin or something.
Okay.
Quickly. Oh, let's pull up FanDuel first. Actually, we can see what it is at FanDuel.
All right. So to make Final Four,
let's look at Purdue here.
Let's see.
If we can find them. Oh, it's all right there under Duke. You passed it.
Oh, okay, right here. Here we go.
So it's plus 12-1.
Wow. No, Danny, why are the
versus
lines like
25-1?
Why is that possible? Like, why is one book?
So it's interesting in sports betting versus like the stock market, right? Let's say you're trying to buy GameStop, which was the media frenzy.
Yes.
Every exchange is going to be offering GameStop at the same price. You can't go to one broker and buy it at X dollar and another broker to buy it at Y dollar because there's a centralized exchange. It's traded through the New York Stock Exchange or whatever that sets the price. In sports betting, how it's different is there's no centralized pricing mechanism for sports betting. So every sports book typically, deals with a couple of operators that make their lines for them. But they don't, for some reason, communicate with each other and figure out, I'm offering it at plus 1,200. Maybe the other sports book should offer at 1,200. They're all separate entities. And that's why a lot of the times there are these weird prices or what I call rogue prices for sports books that, one sports book was a little more vigilant and adjusted the price. Another sports book just got lazy, missed it, and didn't adjust it. And that's why there's these like missed prices between teams typically.
Do people get fired for this? Like, do people get fired for making mistakes like this?
Typically not, because there's there's so many bets at the end of the day, and they're taking so much handle from like the Super Bowl or like the NFL game. Beyond between me and you, Ron, I'm pretty sure we're like one of 5 people in the world who are trying to bet more than $50 on the Purdue to make Final Four. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that many people besides semi-professional bettors or professional bettors are looking at Purdue or. I remember a week or two ago we bet San Diego State. These are not like the commonplace teams that most people are betting on. So
you're right.
Even if we place our $500 bet and they lose, that's what $6,000 to them. A sports book that's taking in, exactly.
That's like $5 to me.
That's why I think it's so crazy that sports books are worried. When we place our $300 bet on the Rockets, they wouldn't let us place any more. And the sad part is we would have lost our shirt on that bet, Like, we're probably happy they didn't let us bet more on it.
I'm happy. They screwed themselves on that one.
Exactly. So it's one of these weird situations. So you see Purdue plus 1,200 there.
Yep.
Way worse price. Now let's see where Purdue is here. So Purdue is the 16th ranked team here. If you look, it's right under.
Oh, they're 16.
Kansas.
Okay, yep, you're right. 16th ranked.
They're a better team than Texas. They're a better team than Tennessee, apparently. And let's just look up, like, they're approximately as good of a team as Texas, let's say, right? Slightly better than Texas.
Yeah.
So let's look up, like, what is the price that DraftKings is offering on Texas to make the Final Four?
DraftKings is offering for Texas to make the Final Four. It's probably going to be up here, right? So,
they're offering plus 350.
What?
So think about how crazy of a difference of a spread that is. They're like approximately as good teams as each other, and one team is plus 2,500 and one team's plus 350. So that's just some of the mistakes that they make. Like, I couldn't name you a single player on either team.
No.
But I know that, they're not going to be that big of a difference in terms of their team strength. With these rating systems. Like, the rating systems can be off a little bit, but they're typically not off that much.
How long do you typically spend looking at these? It's like to get a better understanding.
So because I've been doing it so long, I can glance at this stuff for, a minute or two and identify it pretty quickly.
Wow.
I can, I'll just look at the ratings. I can remember some of the numbers and say, oh, that kind of looks off or that looks a little weird. Maybe I should check it. So it takes me like, I can jump on before the show and do it in a minute or two. But for the person who isn't accustomed to looking at numbers like this, the first few times it is going to take a while. It's going to take half an hour going through each team, checking it slowly type thing. But if you do it 4 or 5 times and you do it somewhat consistently, you'll start getting quite quick at identifying Texas is here, this team is there, what's the difference, and then you'll be able to figure out quite quickly that something's off.
If only there were tools for this. Only.
Yeah, it's there should be, and I hear there's a company called linesniper.com developing some of these, Ronnie. So,
Really? Did not know that.
Just in the background, keep it under wraps, but we got some cool stuff in the works. So, anyways, that's my point for Purdue.
Yeah, I love that.
To make the Final Four. If you look at their championship price, similarly, I think they're like 100 to 1 to win the championship or something like that.
Purdue?
Yeah, Purdue. They'll be like 100 to 1, I believe, somewhere down there. If you scroll down some more. Yeah, they're under Minnesota on the right side.
Oh, okay.
They'll go BYU, Minnesota, Purdue.
Minnesota.
No, on the right side, other side.
Oh, right side. I'm sorry. Yeah, here we go. Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, wow.
So if you think about it, if you just multiply by 4, they're 100 to 1, and they're going to be underdogs in each of those games. So there's no way that the 25 to 1 should be good.
No.
So, anyways, let's place the rest of the 500 on Purdue.
All right, let's do it, man. So that's going to give
happens.
us. Oh, buddy.
There we go.
Oh, please, let's go Purdue, please, Purdue.
So we're switching allegiances. We're off Tennessee now. We're on Purdue.
Oh, we're on Purdue, big time, man, big time.
And Purdue has to make it two stages
to the Final
less
Four.
than Tennessee. We can win both. That's what we're going for both wins. We're going for Tennessee to win it all and Purdue to make the final. I'm just joking. That would be
nice.
A long shot. But we'll be adding on more teams as we get closer to March Madness. So we'll have a nice portfolio going in there. And then when March Madness comes, we'll start sweating the games. We'll make some maneuvers to hedge some things out, not hedge some things out, depending on what we're seeing. And this is what I call riding the seas. You got to navigate the seas like a captain during the tournament. So
are you going to talk me off the ledge? Talk me off the ledge during March Madness, because this is not going to be good for me, man. All right, especially
not good for the heart.
If we win the first weekend, we survive the first weekend, dude. I'm not going to be able to handle this, man. Oh my God!
We'll definitely have a few teams in for the Elite 8, Sweet 16 for sure. So all right, let's throw this one in and
let's put it in. Are they going to accept it? Wager approval required.
They're not even accepting it. See, this is what I think is crazy. All right, so let's place
242.86
number. Oh wait, press the second one. We want the second one.
Well, we can send it for approval though. Does it want to do this one?
No, we want to place. You want to do the second one because you want to make sure you get at least a 243.
Okay, gotcha.
And then you'll see, what else they give us. So let's press continue. Let's see if they accept it and what else they approve or not approve us for.
Why are we at 0 now? Our balance went to 0.
Because they're awaiting approval.
Oh, they're waiting it. Okay, gotcha.
If they don't approve it, they'll refund us that money. If they do approve it, we'll see.
Dude, you weren't lying. People don't want to take your bets, man. You are not lying about that.
Yeah, because you don't see this that often. The average
I never see
this type of thing where they're like, we're waiting for approval, and people don't realize
dude, I never see this in my life. Never.
And it seems to happen quite often. It doesn't matter the book either for us. It's
wow.
This happens more than should be happening. I guess.
How frustrating are you when this happens to you when you're at a casino and you're like, wait, why are you not going to put it in? Like, do you freak out?
Yeah, so I've gotten so accustomed to it, honestly, that it's it is what it is type thing. Wow. But the reality of the situation is for a sportsbook not to be able to take a $500 bet from someone is a little bit insane.
That's what I mean. It's $500. Don't get me wrong, $500 is good money, but I mean, come on, not to them.
Yeah, but you're a sportsbook handler.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
hundreds of $1 million of handle. It's a little bit insane for sure, but
yeah, people make $1 million bets, but you're not taking a $500 bet. But okay, whatever.
Yeah, that's what people don't realize. The difference between square and sharp bettors is, that's why people have this misunderstanding of if you're a sharp bettor, you can just go to the casino and bet as much as you want, as much as you want. You can just print money for the rest of your life. That's actually not the case in reality. The sharper you are and the better sports bettor you are, the harder it is to ultimately bet as a principle. Sportsbooks don't like losing money to people. No. And as a result, if they know you're putting in sharp bets, they're just simply not going to let you bet. Or they're only going to let you bet a couple $100. So imagine, we have a 10% edge on a $250 bet. You're only making $25 in expected value. So if you're trying to make a living doing that, it's quite difficult. So the reality is, being a professional bettor requires having a lot of outs, having a lot of accounts, and that comes with its own risk of getting stiffed by people, not getting paid out, not being able to place your bets. It's a much more difficult lifestyle than most people understand. Well, that was it from me. I think over the next few weeks going into March Madness, Ron, we'll definitely be adding on. Keep a lookout on this stuff because, I definitely want to go into March Madness with, 8-10 teams that we're sweating. So we got a good sweat during the tournament.
Sweat and heart palpitations, man. That's the way to go, March Madness. Go big
Exactly.
or go home, right?
Exactly.
Danny, thanks for joining me again. I appreciate it. And for all the viewers, don't forget to like, subscribe to our channel. We have a lot of cool stuff coming up on the Line Sniper channel. So thanks a lot for watching, guys.